This movie has everything: action, comedy, drama, an idiot savant, and a mobile phone that's actually a submarine. SPL 2 is the latest film from director Soi Chang. It's a sequel in name only to 2005's SPL. SPL 2 stars Louis Koo as a man with a terminal illness. If he doesn't get a new hairdo, I'm gonna die. He's a criminal with a plan, and Simon Yam plays a cop out to stop him. Wu Jing plays an undercover who ends up in the wrong place at the wrong time several times. If you see the movie, it'll make sense. Donnie Yen isn't in SPL 2. I have no idea why, but this is as good a time as any to say that Tony Jaa acts really well in SPL 2, in addition to being a fantastic movie martial artist. He plays a man who will do almost anything to save his terminally ill daughter. There are quite a few noteworthy performances at all levels in SPL 2. Both Tony Jaa and Wu Jing are known primarily as action stars, but they both display admirable dramatic chops in this movie. One of the best things about Hong Kong cinema is the very strong talent pool of supporting actors in films. Jun Kung plays Louis Koo's brother. It's a small but important role, and Jun plays it well. The same goes for Candy Yoon, who plays his wife. Philip Keung and Ken Lo, two very dependable actors, turn in typically notable performances. One of the best things I can say about them and quite a lot of other people is that, as familiar as they are, they still made me believe in their characters. That's especially admirable given the rather limited character development in SPL 2. It's a big, sprawling movie that's very ambitious in its scope, and in many ways it realizes those ambitions, but in other ways it doesn't. Big movies need big characters, but big characters need backgrounds. It's hard to know who any of these characters are beyond what scant information we're given about them. SPL 2 is very much a local blockbuster. It's international in scale, and often the spectacle seems to be its own justification. There's no narrative need for a gigantic prison riot, but it sure looks good, and it gives three of the main characters a chance to showcase their phenomenal action skills. Zhang Jin is a very capable foil for people like Tony Jaa and Wu Jing, and my only critiques of his performance are things that he had no control of. For some reason, his wire assistance during the action scenes is more frequently obvious than it is for the others. And that's the problem. When he does something that's obviously wire work, it stands out in great contrast because he's the only one it happens to. Tony Jaa and Wu Jing definitely used wires as well, but it's never as obvious as it is for Zhang Jin. Speaking of obvious, I personally found it hard to take the idea of a man wearing a suit in an unair-conditioned Thai prison fighting off all and sundry without ever really breaking a sweat. He did look flawless while doing all of this. I just found it hard to believe. It probably sounds like I'm being picayune, but then again, everything around him is much more natural and realistic, so it seems very fake in context. But when has realism ever mattered in a summer blockbuster? As I noted in the opening of this review, the film features a piece of technology that's nothing short of miraculous. Without spoiling anything, I can tell you, a mobile phone not only survives being unceremoniously tossed into Hong Kong harbor, it then apparently migrates under its own power out to the fishing grounds, where it is, pun intended, fished out of the water by someone who then proceeds to make an international call. Look, at the very least, anything you drop into Hong Kong harbor is very likely to melt from pollution. You know, they had to change the script of The Dark Knight because the stuntmen from Hollywood refused to get into that water. Now, the reason I say all of that is because plausibility is, for me, important. It's not just because I would like to believe the things that I see in a movie could possibly happen. But remember, SPL 2 is a big, loud summer blockbuster, and as such it has no obligation to be any smarter or more believable than San Andreas. Trust me, if it wasn't for a couple of very good friends in Los Angeles, I would totally root for the earthquake. But never mind that. SPL 2 is really nice looking, it's a lot of fun, and it's very entertaining. There's a lot to like about the movie, including the acting, the cinematography, and especially the action choreography. It's just not a story you should think about too much. Unfortunately, for me, the emotional climax of the film seemed so shamelessly contrived that it struck me not just as completely implausible, but manipulative and cheap. I didn't know Barbara Wong wrote for Soi Chang. I enjoyed looking at this movie, and I even got a little caught up in the subplot involving Tony Jaa and his daughter. But I don't think this movie was meant to be, tugging at my heartstrings or making me think a lot. I was just supposed to watch people beat the living daylights out of each other, and SPL 2 certainly delivers that in spades. There's an awful lot of fights, there's an awful lot of action, and there's an awful lot of fun to be had by watching the film. Now, if you want to watch this movie, I suggest you go see it in a cinema. Not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it's a summer blockbuster and you need to see it on a big giant screen and it's really loud and you get those vibrating seats that make your date more amenable to. So if you want to watch this movie, do it that way, or wait until it becomes available for rental or purchase. Don't download this movie. People work too hard on it for it to be stolen by idiots. When this film gets released to home video, I'll update the description with a link where you could buy it. If you enjoyed my review, please tell me. If you didn't enjoy the review, tell me. If you enjoy the channel, please subscribe. Thank you for watching.